भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमन हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय
नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय।
जय
प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
जय
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन धाम की जय। ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवधाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेद गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Gaur Hari Gaur. Namo Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Krishna Bhutalesh. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining for our daily Srimad Bhagavatam study here at ISKCON of Philadelphia. We are reading, studying, and discussing from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, text number 2. Hare Krishna, can you all see my screen?
यस प्रभु
Oh, thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
सोऽहं नृणां शुल्लसुखाय दुःखं महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्या प्रवर्तये भागवतं पुराणं यदा साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषिभ्यः। सोऽहं नृणां शुल्लसुखाय दुःखं महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्य प्रवर्तये भागवतं पुराणं यदा साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषिभ्यः। सोऽहं नृणां शुल्लसुखाय दुःखं महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्य प्रवर्तये भागवतं पुराणं यदा साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषभ्या। हरे कृष्णा
हरे
प्लीज।
कृष्णा सोऽहं नृणां क्षुल्लसुखाय दुःखम् महाद्गतानां विरमायतस्य प्रवर्तये भागवतं पुराणं यदाह साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषिभ्यः।
हरे कृष्णा। सोऽहं नृणां शुल्लसुखाय दुःखं महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्य प्रवर्तये भगवतं पुराणं यदाह साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषिभ्यः। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे
तो अहम निर्णाम सुखाय दुःखम महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्या प्रवर्ते भागवतं पुराणं यद्
सोऽहं ऋणं क्षुलसुखाय दुःखं महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्य प्रवर्तये भागवतं पुराणम् यदाह साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषिभ्यः। हरे कृष्ण।
Okay.
सोऽहं नृणां सुखाय दुःखं महद्गतानां विरमाय तस्य प्रवर्तये भागवतं पुराणं यत् आह साक्षात् भगवान् ऋषिभ्यः।
Anyone else? Okay, we will read the synonyms, the translation and purport. Saha, that, aham, I, nrunam, of the human being, shulla, very little, sukhaya, for happiness, dukkham, distress, mahat, great, Gatanam entered into Viramaya for mitigation, Tasya his Pravartaye beginning, Bhagavatam Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Vedic supplement, Yat which Aha said Sakshat directly Bhagavan the personality of Godhead Rishibhya unto the sages. Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavad Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. Purport. The sage Maitreya proposed to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam because it was specially compiled and traditionally comes down in the disciplic succession for the solution of all the problems of human society. Only one who is fortunate can have the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Under the spell of material energy, the living entities are entrapped in the bondage of many difficulties simply for the sake of a little bit of material happiness. They engage in fruitive activities, not knowing the implications. Under the false impression that the body is the self, the living entities foolishly relate to so many false attachments. They think that they can engage with materialistic paraphernalia forever. This gross misconception of life is so strong that a person suffers continually life after life under the external energy of the Lord. If one comes in contact with the book Bhagavatam as well as with the devotee Bhagavata, who knows what the Bhagavatam is, then such a fortunate man gets out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Sri Maitreya Muni, out of compassion for the suffering men in the world, proposes to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam first and last. हरे कृष्णा ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम पृष्ठा भूतले श्रीमते सच्चिनंदन स्वामी नित्यानंद प्रिय दीनभद्रे शरण हरे कृष्णा थैंक यू ऑल फॉर जॉइनिंग I'm very grateful for this opportunity to speak, although I have no qualification. But I'll try to repeat what I have heard. and read primarily for my own purification, and hope it is pleasing to all the devotees. Before I begin, I seek all of your blessings and permission. Please. Hare Krishna. I'll just repeat the translation. Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavat Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. Yeah, very, very beautiful verse. Maitreya Muni is answering. Yesterday we started this eighth chapter. Kaivalya Prabhu discussed the first verse. Uh, and actually, if we look at the little bit in the history of this past few chapters, yeah, Sukadev Goswami explains in the beginning of the fifth chapter, yeah, that Maitreya Muni was in Haridwar, yeah, on the banks of the Ganges, reached the source of the celestial Ganges river. He says Vidura reached there, where Maitreya Muni, the great fathomless learned sage, very deeply learned sage, was seated. And Vidura started his inquiries from him in that fifth chapter. And of course, Vidura asked so many questions, about 20 odd verses of questions are there. Uh, and one of the questions was, in the second text of that fifth chapter, says, you know, Vidura Vacha, Vidura spoke or asked his question, Sukhaya karmani karoti loko, nathai sukham vanyad uparamam va, vindeta bhuyas tataeva dukkham, yadatra yuktam bhagavan vadena. So Vidura was saying or asking Maitreya Muni, you know, Sukhaya karmani karoti loko. So in this world, in general, people are performing so many karmano, so many activities. Karoti loko means in this world, so many people are performing so many activities. Uh, Nathai sukham, but they don't get happiness. They are doing all those activities for happiness, sukhaya. For happiness, they are doing all these activities, but nathai sukham. They are not getting any happiness. Uh, Vanyad uparamam va. Uh, uh, they don't get happiness. On the other hand, vindeta bhuyas tataeva dukkham. What are they getting on the other hand? Or people like me, many people in this material world are getting what? Dukkham, distress. But in spite of getting so much distress, uh, people are not stopping these activities or endeavors for happiness. People are not getting the realization that material world is full of miseries and there is no way I can get happiness. So here we are hearing that Maitreya is, with great compassion, uh, answering Vidura's questions. And Vidura also, with so much compassion, is asking these questions. Uh, so Maitreya Muni is answering, So Vidura's question is, how can they stop this pursuit for material happiness, which is flickering, flickering? And Maitreya Muni is answering this so profoundly in this verse. He's saying, Soham runam shulla sukhaya dukkham. So he's saying, first of all, he recognizes that Vidura is asking such a relevant question with deep compassion in his heart. You know, with if we think about this, what is Vidura's stature? Is this question really depicts his standard? For his standard, He should be asking questions, more intimate topics related to the Lord and his devotees and activities. But he's asking this question for all the general people who are suffering, like me, in this material world with so much compassion. Uh, uh, so he's answering Shulla Sukhaya. So people are endeavoring so much for meager happiness. It's like spending $1 million for a small toy car. But people are so obsessed with material sense gratification uh, um, that one is spending his whole life for this little bit, Shulla Sukha. And he's saying uh, to stop this illusory endeavors, Viramaya, of material happiness, which anyway is going to end in distress. What is happening? Pravartaye Bhagavatam Puranam. This Srimad Bhagavata Purana is spoken, and it is spoken by Maitreya Muni here. The Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken directly by the Supreme Lord in the form of Sankarshan to the great sages. And who are those great sages? Here it's referring to the four Kumaras, you know. So Srimad Bhagavatam descends directly to from the Lord, and his sincere, dedicated devotees, they propagate this message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? To mitigate the suffering of the conditioned souls. Yeah. And we read yesterday in text 1, Kaivalya Prabhu explained how Maitreya Muni first glorifies Vidura. Yeah, before he starts speaking in this verse about Bhagavat Purana, he first glorifies Vidura. And he says, and we hear this, right? We are all in this class today. Who is benefiting from this Bhagavatam class? Anyone? Uh, is the speaker benefiting?
All of us do.
All of us, yes. All of us are benefiting. Uh, the one who asks questions, so he glorifies Vidura who's asking questions. In speaking the transcendental topics, the speaker, a hearer is glorious, and topics of the Lord are glorious. Everything is glorious. In fact, I was hearing in a class that the audience is more important than the speaker. Audience can still have discussions among each other, but without speaker, without the audience, the speaker is useless. So he's glorifying Vidura because he's such a qualified audience. He's not only glorifying Vidura, but if we see, he glorifies the entire Puru dynasty. Oh, they are all worthy because you are all devotees of Lord Krishna. And oh, Vidura, you are also born in that dynasty. And so wonderful you are here and trying to understand the wonderful pastimes of the Lord. So in the first verse, he glorified Vidura, and now he is glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavat Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. So we can spend little time first talking about, because Prabhupada also emphasizes great detail in the purport about this very little pleasure and the distress or miseries in this material world. And then we can discuss about, how this message of Bhagavat Purana can help us and how this message is received. Uh, so, yes, we have heard this many times, but the more we hear, the more realization one gets. Uh, uh, so, in this material world, nothing is permanent. But we also hear from the Bhagavad Gita that the soul is eternal, right? For the soul, there is neither birth nor death. So this is matter is temporary and the soul is eternal. So right there, you can see there is incompatibility, like oil and water. Do they go together? Oil and water? No. Same way, matter and spirit, they don't go together. We want permanent peace and happiness, but we can't get it in this temporary place. Um, so when you try to extract happiness, uh, being a living entity, being a spirit soul who is eternal from this temporary matter, to try to extract permanent happiness, that's impossible, very, very difficult. Like, I was in India and sugar cane. There are so many sugarcane vendors, especially in January and February is a peak time, harvesting time. So you pass sugarcane through the machine, you're gonna get sugarcane juice because the nature of sugarcane is sweet. Yeah. But let's say I put bitter gourd through that same machine. Will I get sweet juice? Sweet? No. And the nature of the bitter gourd is it is bitter. Mm. So, no matter how hard I try from this material nature, no matter how much wealth and assets I possess or I try to accumulate in the long run, uh, it won't give me happiness and peace. No. So, beautiful looking faces we'll find in this material world. But if you just shake them little bit, and we will see how morose or unhappy people are in this world. So, um, the soul is eternal and is Satchit Ananda, is meant to be Ananda, blissful. Uh, but material world is Asat and Nirananda, it is temporary and uh, Nirananda is miserable. This entire material world is temporary. Uh, so we are eternal beings trying to look for happiness in temporary things. You know, I was also, there was this one advertisement that I saw by diamond companies, companies that sell diamond. They market saying diamonds are forever. But we know after reading the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing that nothing is forever. But they market like this, right? In general, so many things people market. Oh, love is forever. Relationships are forever. You can live happily ever after. You know, uh, like we all would love, people love to have a nice, beautiful home forever. If I'm young and beautiful, I want to stay young and beautiful forever, right? But it doesn't work like that. Never. First of all, everything deteriorates just like my body is deteriorating from day one. They only say you are 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, 10 year old. So so eventually the whole universe is destroyed. So um, everyone wants to enjoy in this material world, but no one is enjoying. We are trying hard, but falling apart. So many kleshas, can go on and on about all the troubles or anxieties or miseries that uh, we face in this material world. That's why Krishna keeps saying, you know, come back to, you know, uh, Punarjanmana iti mameti. So Arjuna, if you understand in truth about my appearance and activities, you will not come back because this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's a place of miseries. And he's saying, give up. All these futile attempts, you'll never be happy. Uh, Forget about us, even Brahma has to die one day. Uh, so Krishna is saying again and again, um, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam by regularly hearing, and we go back to the spiritual world where we can be eternally happy. Uh, and we see, just few examples I wanted to give before we, revert back to, Maitreya Muni and the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. We see in this material world, the same things that bring us happiness also become the cause of our misery. Yeah, have you seen or experienced this? Any examples? The same elements that are very essential for our survival, they can also become the cause of anxiety and even death. Yes, anyone, can think of any examples?
Most things in the material world, right? Our family brings us a lot of joy, but there's times they bring us a lot of stress. Work can bring us joy because we get a paycheck, but it comes with a lot of stress. I mean, even more mundane, watching a football game or something, it brings you a lot of happiness when your team's winning, but when they lose, it can bring a lot of stress and anxiety and anger and all of that. So basically everything.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing, Bhavagrahi Janardhan Prabhu. So, yes, everything becomes a cause of suffering also in this material world. Just look at the basic five material elements. Forget about, you know, um, our relationships and even the five basic elements, material elements, Bhumi, Rapo, Nala, Vayur, Kam, Eva, right? Manobuddhir. But the five material elements is Bhumi, which is earth, right? We can't even stand without the earth. But the same earth, can it become the cause of our death or anxiety? See earthquakes, we go down. Apa is water. Uh, we need water for so many things, for cleaning our body, for drinking, cooking. Same water can become the cause of our death. How? If I don't know swimming, you know, it will become the cause of my death. I'll drown. Once I almost drowned. Luckily there was a devotee nearby who helped me. Mm. Anala, fire. Without it we can't cook in the kitchen. But same fire causes death. Recently we heard these wildfires in Los Angeles, California, right? So many thousands of acres of land was destroyed and tens of lives were lost. Yeah. And Vayu is air. Yeah. So important to breathe. We can't breathe without air. But this a cyclone, can destroy so many lives and structures. And ether or space come. Yeah. Sometimes there is so much of space, so much empty space, we don't realize the importance of it. But if 40, 50 people, or maybe 15, 20 people are squeezed in a small lift, then we'll appreciate the importance. And we, at least in India, you may have heard of stampedes, right? Heard of any recent stampedes? Anyone? In the Kumbh Mela recently, I heard, you know. So the point is, every element can be a cause of our death. That is material world. We hear again and again, every step there is danger. Anxiety, padam padam yat vipadam. Yes, right? Anxiety for everything, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. All activities can also become the cause of our anxiety. If you overeat, there is anxiety of a stomach upset or a digestion problem. Yeah. And there is anxiety for those, especially for those who are not dependent on Krishna. There is anxiety. Oh, where will I get my next meal from? How will I feed my dependents tomorrow? right? Will I have food tomorrow? There is anxiety. Yeah. So sleeping, if you sleep too much, you feel lazy. Mm, end up losing work, put on weight. On other hand, if you don't sleep enough, then people have insomnia, right? Lack of sleep. So look at this material life of all extremes, you know, and if if there are two men who fall in love with one same woman, then there is anxiety. Yeah, so people are fighting. So people fight, lose lives, and there is fear also there, fear of loss. Uh, Everybody's trying to defend. You see some of these big homes, people have huge walls built, the gates, and then the walls. I used to see when I was growing up, some houses they would have sharp glass pieces on the walls. Trespassers will be prosecuted, beware of dogs. All this, what are these signs of what? Fear, right? Fear, loss, or somebody may take away. So every step there is danger. Subordinates are afraid and the boss may fire them. um, Poor are afraid rich will exploit. Rich are afraid they'll lose. So practically everyone. So Srila Prabhupada says, that in this world, yes, Shulla Sukha, there is tiny amount of pleasure for which everyone is running behind. Uh, like, the example is given of a bar. Uh, let's say there's a bar and it says everybody is invited. Yeah, please come, please come. You can do whatever you want inside this bar. Uh, but then, at the end, if they put a qualifier that uh, after some time you'll be pulled out, and there's a condition that you'll be shot by a person with a gun when you come outside. You all follow this? Yeah. You go inside a bar, you're allowed to do anything and everything, but there is a condition that when you come out after some time, you'll be shot by a person with a gun. How many people will go? Or who will go inside? Right? Only somebody who is really thinking, only a very, very less intelligent or a foolish person will go. Right? Oh, let me just get some pleasure immediately, sense gratification. And who thinks, well, who has seen, who knows what will happen after some time? Let me just go in and have fun now. Right? Only a foolish person like that, for little pleasure, he may go. Like that, the Bhagavatam explains, we are going through millions of lifetimes, birth after birth, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Uh, so for little pleasure. Then this material life puts everyone into suffering. Uh, when I was a kid, little kid, I didn't know because I was nicely taken care by my parents. But when I grew up, came out of the house, then I realized how much my parents took care and the efforts, to protect me. If you see, it's a place of so much suffering. But everyone is trying hard, wants a stable platform to stand. Uh, but the Bhagavatam is explaining here in this verse and in many verses that simply living material life and not thinking of spiritual life is begging for trouble, is really begging for trouble. And we should remember that all our actions have consequences. Mm. To engage in sense gratification without thinking of consequences is very, very, it's engaging itself is very dangerous. And without even thinking, uh, we don't think what is life, what is, how to face and shape the future of my future, what is the goal of my life, how I should make use of this, bad situation. as Prabhupada says, best of the bad bargain. Yeah? So the point I'm trying to make is, yes, we get little fleeting, temporary sense pleasure compared to the unlimited pleasure we will get with Krishna in the spiritual world. It is this temporary fleeting pleasure is nothing compared to the pleasure we derive in Krishna consciousness in the spiritual world. Prabhupada gives the example like a drop of water in the desert. See, in a desert, let's say you get a drop of water in your hand. And I get a drop of water in my hand, I'm in the desert. Oh, I'm thinking, oh, I'm happy. I get a drop in the desert. But before I sip the drop, what happens? It evaporates because it's so hot. So like that, we are again and again plunged into hopelessness and despair in this material world. That's our situation. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, is giving us that nectar uh, for which we should always be anxious. It is giving us that knowledge, who we really are, where we are meant to be, where we are meant to go, and how to go there. And the beauty is, not only, see, this is really important, not only we'll be happy when we get to the spiritual world, not only when we get there, but also along the way to get there, we'll be happy. How? Because we heard many times in the Bhagavad Gita also. Can anybody remember any of the verses from the Bhagavad Gita where it says, along the way also the process of engaging in Krishna consciousness is also very blissful. Any verse you can think of? So in the ninth chapter,
9.2.
yes, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes,
Susukam kartam avyayam.
yes, thank you. Rajavidya Rajaguhya Pavitram idamuttamam Pratyakshavagam dharmyam Susukam kartum avyayam. So the process also is, Sukham is joyful or blissful, and Susukham is very joyful, very blissfully performed. The process also. That's why we hear, Kevala Ananda Kanda. So everything we do in this Lord Chaitanya's movement is blissful, a fountain of bliss, right? So as soon as we get this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, we get the higher taste for spiritual pleasure. And see, this is another very important point. And that taste, when we get, that impels us in devotional service to go on and on until ultimately we reach that lotus feet of Krishna and are blissed out. So Maitreya Muni here is glorifying Vidura, is glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam and the topics or subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And not only that, in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining how Maitreya Muni received this knowledge and the disciplic succession through which he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's explained that how it all started with the Lord Sankarshan, when the Supreme Person or the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who spoke, Lord Sankarshan spoke directly to the four Kumaras, who was headed by Sanat Kumar. Yeah. And so Lord Sankarshan spoke to the four Kumaras, and then how did it come to Maitreya Muni? Whom did the four Kumaras speak to? Any guesses? So Bhagavan Rishibhya So the Lord, as Sankarshan spoke to the four sages, the four Kumaras, and then whom did they speak to?
Sankhyaina Muni.
Yes, Sankhyaena Muni. And then Sankhyaena Muni explained the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parashara Muni and Brihaspati. And Parashara Muni was the one who spoke to Maitreya Muni. And Maitreya Muni is now speaking. So he's describing the disciplic succession. Now, by describing the disciplic succession, there's another, interesting point that we can take home, and that, by mentioning that, we can see he's qualified to speak. And on that basis, that he received this knowledge in disciplic succession, he's speaking. So that's how he received the knowledge. And, the couple of instructions we get from this is, he establishes his authority to speak. And also he is giving credit to the previous acharyas in speaking about this transcendental knowledge. Or as a matter of fact, any activity in Krishna consciousness that we do, the mood of the devotee is what? There are two things: humility, being very humble, but at the same time, there is a sense of empowerment. So there is a dynamic interplay between humility and empowerment in a devotee's life. Yes, I'm going to speak, not because I'm qualified to speak, not because I'm intelligent, or not because I know more than everybody else. No, but because I've heard from an authority. Or yes, I may take a lead or take up leadership position, not because I'm great, because I'm following great leaders and follow faithfully in their footsteps. So Srila Prabhupada said, with all humility at my command. So his humility was that he was willing to be an instrument in the Lord's hand and accept Lord's empowerment. Yeah. So, humility, it does not mean, oh, I'm useless, I don't know, I can never give a class, or I can never be a leader. No, no, no. So, but I can accept knowledge from someone who has it and pass it on to others. I can accept a position and be guided by others who know how to lead, and I can do it as a service. So we can accept empowerment with humility. Because why? Why do we have to? Any guesses? Any thoughts? Why we have to accept? We're talking about disciplic succession to give a hint. Why we should accept? Yes?
For the authenticity.
Yes, yes. But
I think I just thinking that they know the truth
yes,
and
yes,
they
of
pass it
course,
on.
all those are true. But yes, yes. I know I was trying to make a point that should the disciplic succession continue or not?
Yes.
Should the
Yeah.
services have to continue or not?
Yes, Prabhu.
Should the management leadership has to continue or not?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Mm.
So that's disciplic succession. Guru Parampara. Parampara means one following the other. It doesn't stop at any point. So Sankarshan, Sanat Kumar, Sankhya Muni, Parashara Muni, Maitreya Muni, Vidhura. So this knowledge is eternal, ever existing. And it was spoken previously also. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. But was that the first time he spoke the Bhagavad Gita? No, right? He says in the fourth chapter beginning, he says, oh, I gave this knowledge to sun god Vivaswan. So it's spoken at different times by different people, in either by the Lord or by his devotees in disciplic succession, different times, but the essence of the knowledge, there may be slight differences in the way or how, but the essence of the knowledge, the essence of the instructions are the same, right? Krishna says, Imam vivashvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam. So, never there was a time when this knowledge did not exist. It is eternal. It is given at a point in time by a parampara guru and passes on. And also, Krishna says, right after that, what does he say? What is the next words of the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter? 4.2 is Evam parampara praptam imam rajarasayo vidu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta paranthapa. But this parampara is sometimes broken or knowledge is lost. Yogo nashta is lost or broken. Uh, but and this knowledge is received evam parampara praptam. So if it's broken, what happens? Then Krishna says in the same chapter, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya. So he comes again and again whenever there is decline or there is no access to genuine transcendental knowledge, then he comes or he sends somebody else to restart that. That's why we see so many disciplic successions in this planet and other planets too. Yeah. And we know, through our scriptures that there are four bona fide sampradayas, four Vaishnava sampradayas. Um, Vaishnava means one who worships Lord Vishnu. Yeah. So we also see Lord spoke to Brahma, which is the Brahma Sampradaya, and Lord Vishnu spoke to Lakshmi, which is the Sri Sampradaya. Then Krishna spoke to Lord Shiva, which is the Rudra Sampradaya. And then Lord spoke to the four Kumaras, which is the Kumara Sampradaya. So we can see this lineage. And you can see at the end of the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, we can see the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So between these four Sampradayas, yeah, there are slight differences, but the essence is the same. That Lord Vishnu is the absolute. Yeah. One nice example I heard in this context. It's like, um, you have parents with, let's say, four children. Yeah. Each child grows up, has his own family, and each family there are slight differences, disagreements are there, uh, because the way children go about doing things differently, but ultimately all are connected to the parents. Well, there may be minor discrepancies or differences, but on all the important things, they come together. When there is a need, they come together. They all talk about Krishna. So, like that. The Bhagavatam, it is talking about so many vast topics, and one needs proper vision and proper realization to see and understand the things in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the more realized one becomes, the more meaning one gets out of these nectarian 18,000 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I was hearing in one of the lectures where it was explained about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He explains the Srimad Bhagavatam. Uh, it reveals itself in several ways. One is it presents itself as a lamp, Ajatma Deepa. So it reveals Ajatma, about soul, spirit, God, Brahman, Atato Brahma Jignasa. So those ever who are qualified for that part, the Bhagavatam reveals. And we also hear that Srimad Bhagavatam is like a sun, right? It's the common example is given. It's like a rising sun. And what does a rising sun do? Obviously brings light and it destroys all the darkness. Like you see when, most of the thieves and burglars, all the miscreants are all doing mischievous things in the night when it's dark. And when light comes, they all run away. So it's explained just like that, the Bhagavatam, um, the devotees rejoice. So meaning it's little more personal. When the rising sun example describes how the Lord brings light or Bhagavat, Lord in the form of Bhagavatam, brings light and removes darkness. The Supreme Lord and his different avatars come and destroy the darkness and destroy the miscreants and deliver the devotees. So, this way we get a personal idea of the Lord. Uh, and the other presentation is that Srimad Bhagavatam is like a fruit, right? We heard in the beginning verses of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is a very ripe fruit, which is very, very sweet, like a mango. Not just a mango, but a mango with no skin, no fiber, no seed, just liquid, and like a juice to just drink. So tasty fruit, Bhagavat. So Srimad Bhagavatam is also a tasty fruit, uh, which you know, meaning that it refers to the Supreme Lord in his most personal aspect, full of rasa, full of personal relationship, full of qualities. So we serve that Lord and develop a relationship with the Lord. Then we experience that love. Uh, uh, because Bhagavatam is there, is meant to show not only that God is there, that Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman, but and not only that he has many avatars, but also that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, as we have heard again and again. And Narada Muni tells Vyasadeva, that's the point you were missing. You write Srimad Bhagavatam and show Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, which is what we'll ultimately see in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is all the rasa described. Uh, that is a fruit of Bhagavatam. Uh, so all these things are there in the Srimad Bhagavatam for different kinds of people also. In the 11th canto, we'll see there's different impersonal topics also discussed. Uh, and then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, not just a lamp, or not just a rising sun or a fruit, but also is like Mohini avatar. And what is Mohini avatar famous for? To bewilder the demons, right? Lord took the form of Mohini avatar to bewilder the demons. So Lord in the form of Mohini was very nice to the demons, and they thought, oh, we'll do anything for Mohini avatar. And what did the Lord do? She asked for the nectar, right? From the demons. And did they give it to her? Yes, because they thought, oh, she likes us a lot and she will give it back to us. But what did the Lord do? Gave it to the demigods. So the explanation is given that Srimad Bhagavatam, fools or bewilders, the demons, the impersonalists, the jnanis who read the Srimad Bhagavatam thinking, oh, it has topics of impersonalism. Uh, but of course, devotees don't go for all these. Devotees get the nectar, uh, get another whole meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Devotees appreciate the nectar of bhakti. And they get the very highest truth. So we should, go through this Srimad Bhagavatam here from, as Prabhupada writes, from pure devotees of the Lord with great devotion in the association of devotees. And one of the angas of bhakti, or the first and the most important, is Shravanam, right? Hearing properly, not hearing about, not just hearing, but hearing about Srimad Bhagavatam from Srimad
Gently,
Bhagavatam. Yeah, that doesn't
gently,
mean we don't disrespect any other scriptures, but Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost. Uh, so we hear attentively with great devotion and relish the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. Um, these were some points I wanted to share from today's verse. So Shri Maitreya Muni is beginning to speak and glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we'll continue to hear about, Maitreya Muni and how he received this knowledge. Hare Krishna, I'll pause here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Please forgive me for any mistakes or shortcomings. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any reflections or comments?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Nice class. Yes, Bhagavatam is something. The more and more hearing, it will just, like a juice. You want to have more, listening more and more. That, but if we drink a good juice, you want to have more. So same thing, Bhagavatam also. There is no end for that. And then every day we listen, every day is a new, this thing is there, information is there. That I like all the time. I enjoy that.
If you are feeling like that, the Bhagavatam and the Acharya says, then you are relishing it and you are hearing it the right way.
I don't know how much I don't know how much I'm grasping, but I love to hear. I love to that I'm listening and then try to grasp something. Thank you very much.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories.
Acharya Prabhu, any comments, corrections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for a nice class. Hare Krishna. You were mentioning of the parampara with my Maitreya Muni, and you were going through the disciplic succession. So Uddhava, instructed him just previous to this. Where would he fall in that disciplic succession?
Good question, Prabhu. But I'm speculating, but I'm thinking, we also hear from many advanced pure devotees along the way, right? It's association of pure devotees of the Lord, and Uddhava is a pure devotee of the Lord. And Uddhava is an eternal associate of the Lord. So he was fortunate to get the association. But I don't know if there is a disciplic succession that way. But maybe we could see that as, how Vidura also heard a little bit from Uddhava, and that, he was fortunate to get some association of Uddhava as an eternal associate of the Lord. And just like one can have association of, not just one's guru, but other pure devotees or associates of the Lord. Is that how we see it?
It made me think about the relationship between the Diksha and Shiksha. How the as you were talking, I was unfamiliar with his parampara, that he was how he was in that chain of disciplic succession. But as you mentioned it, it made me just think how prominent Shiksha Guru is
Yes.
throughout the lineage as we go back. It's not always through the Diksha Guru, although the Diksha Guru plays a very important role as well. A lot of times the relationships that we see are shiksha relationships, and they are equal manifestations of the Lord's mercy. Yeah, it made me think that was the relationship they had, that must have had then.
Yes, makes sense. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu, for bringing that up. Very good point. Yeah. Yes, one can have many Shiksha Gurus. Okay. If there are no other comments, we'll end here. Thank you so much. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada. Any announcements, Dronacharya Prabhu?
No announcements. We'll see everybody tomorrow for class. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
It's great to see you back.
Thank you for having me, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo